One day you want to sweep arpeggios like this? Well, then you are at the right place. Welcome to the Beginner's Guide to Sweep video number 2. Today we are going to learn our first sweep arpeggio. Here we go. Hey Guitar Champion, what's going on? I'm 𝗗𝙗𝙦𝗚𝗏 back from my practice dojo and welcome to today's video. Last week we talked about the general motion of sweeping, and today it's time to check out our first 3-string sweep arpeggio shape. Sweeping is often a technique used to play arpeggios. So of course today we're going to look at the first beginner and basic sweep arpeggios. Let's go. Alright, and the first arpeggio that I'm going to show you is an E minor arpeggio. Minor arpeggios are triads, and they normally consist out of the root note, the third, and the fifths. And in this case, it's E, G, and B. And we are playing these 3 notes across our highest 3 strings, the G string, the B string, and the E string. And we are starting with the root note on the lowest string. So we first have to find the E here on the G string, and it is right here on the 9th fret. Then we need the G on the B string. The G on the B string is here on the 8th fret. And the B on the E string is on the 7th fret. So our basic first triad goes like this: 9th fret, 8th fret, 7th fret. Now with the first beginner sweep shape, we are also adding another note, but not a different note, just the octave of the note that we have on the G string, which is here on the 12th fret of the E string. Back to the root. So we have root, 3rd, 5th, root. Playing the following arpeggio like this. Now let's take a look at the right hand very quickly. Because here with this shape we only have a one-directional sweep by purpose, and it is the down sweep when we're going from the G to the E string. So when we're going from the lowest string, in this case G string, to the highest string, the E string, then when we're playing the octave we have an upstroke, pull off, and now comes really important, again another upstroke, not an up sweep. Because when we're doing an up sweep, you may have seen it already, we are stuck between the G and the B string. Now when we want to start again the G string with a downstroke, we have a lot of movement to take to go from the G to the B string. That's my cat Ingvi. I'm sorry for that. Ingvi, sweetie, I'm showing people how to sweep. I know you often say you don't sweep, but don't lie to us. You are sweeping. Okay. I'm sorry for that little interruption by my cat Ingvi. Let's go back to the sweeping. So again, only when we go down, we have a sweep. And the other 2 notes is always an upstroke. Because when we do an upstroke here, you already can see it. The tip of the pick is high in the air, and we can land on back again on the G string. Now let's remember again the pick slanting rule from last video. We're going down with downward pick slanting. And we can stick with downward pick slanting. I mean, this note on the E string, it's not so important because we have a pull of time to go around the string. And even though that when we are playing upstroke here in the normal alternate picking rule, again, it is the opposite way. So when we have an upstroke, we need downward pick slanting. And that rule also applies for that one note on the B string. When we're playing the B string with an upstroke, we need downward pick slanting so we can stick with the whole sweeping in one pick slant. In the downward pick slanting. We are fixed with our right hand in the downward pick slant direction. Now this arpeggio shape is called the root shape, but we have 2 inversions of this arpeggio shapes. An inversion means that we don't change the inner structure of that arpeggio and of that triad, but we start with the next possible point, which is in this case the G. So the first inversion of an E minor chord is not E, G, B, it is G, B, E. Again, the inner structure is not changed, we're just starting with the next possible note, the G. So back to the guitar, that means that we have to find the G on the G string. Oh, wow! 12th fret. Now we need the B on the B string. Oh wow, 12th fret. And now we need the E on the E string. Oh wow, 12th fret. So we have everything in the 12th fret. And now this is played with something that is called the roll technique. Because when I put down my finger like this on the 12th fret, like a bar chord, I get this effect. Of course, I can help out a little bit with muting. But still, it can be quite quickly that the notes are overlapping over each other. But we want to have these notes separate in the sweep. So we have to use the so-called roll technique. The roll technique is extremely important for sweeping, but also really helpful in other situations for the left hand. This is why I can't stress enough to practice the roll technique. Even though that some players maybe try to use every finger, which is kind of nearly impossible, especially when you go in the higher frets. No. We want to take advantage of that roll technique, and it requires maybe a little bit of practicing, but it's absolutely worth it. If you want to have more exercise on how to practice the roll technique, then I highly recommend to check out the ZEN of Sweeping, my big online masterclass about sweep picking. You can find the link in the description box, and when buying the ZEN of Sweeping, you have the chance to get the ZEN of Speedpicking, my big online masterclass about speed picking, 50% off. So don't miss that chance. Check the link in the description box, and now let's continue with our sweeps. In sweeping, we have the same rule as always on guitar. The lower strings are muted with the palm. Sometimes even this area, depends on where we are playing, but mostly it is this area, the palm of our hand. So, and the higher strings are muted with the left hand. For example, here, in this shape, I help with my index finger and my middle finger to mute the higher strings. The same here. I slightly touch the strings. I don't press them down so that they can ring, but I slightly touch them so they're muted. Okay, now here I have a flageolet because of the 12th fret, but when I do it here, you can see the strings above the note that I'm playing is muted. But back to the minor shape. Of course, we are adding the octave of the note on the G string, which is on the 15th fret of the B string. And then we have the same right hand pattern like with our root inversion. In the link in the description box, you will find the tabs for the second inversion, but also the major shapes of E. But I highly recommend to not go the either way, just downloading the tabs and just learning it by tabs, but trying to recreate these shapes by your own. For example, the second inversion, you only have to do several steps. First, don't change the inner structure of the chord. Just start at the next point, which is in this case the B. Then find on the G string the lowest note of that inversion, this case the B, and then add the other notes on the next strings. Then just add the octave of the G string and you can apply the same right hand pattern, the same right hand shape like the other inversions. To get the major inversion, you just have to take the third, which is in the E minor shape, the G, and you have to increase it to 1 halftone step, in this case to G sharp. The third is that one note that defines if something is major or minor. Only have to change the third and then you get a major chord. I highly recommend to check that out by yourself, to write it down and then check the tabs with the link in the description box. But so much for your first sweep arpeggio shape. I wish you a lot of fun with this exercise and with this lesson. I hope I'm going to see you in my next video. Next week we are learning how to combine all of these in one big, really cool etude that I have prepared for you guys. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I wish you a lot of fun learning, practicing and mastering the guitar and mastering the sweep technique. Cheers and power your progress. Bye.